So I just want to pick up just the end of the Mitzvas Milah. We were talking last time about the Moreh Nevuchim, and before the Moreh Nevuchim, I think it's just an important thing to keep in mind the oddity of the Seder Rambam that he quotes Hilchos Milah in the middle of the Hilchos Ishus, which I thought was a very, very interesting observation. And I was just wondering that after Matan Torah, the mitzvah Puruvu might change, and I proved that from the fact that l'chayr before Matan Torah to Ben Noach, the mitzvah was for the Homo sapiens, and l'chayr after Matan Torah, it's the Jewish people. Voraya, a goy, that he and his children are Mizgaya, the goy is Mekayim Puruvu. So it's the Am Yehudi, and then we pointed out that maybe the purpose of with the addition of the Suin, the purpose of the Chassid with the Avodram, whatever it is, and it could be that Milah is the culmination of everything, of having and when you have a Ben Zochar, there should be the Chsima of Emunas HaYichud on it. Whatever that means. Certainly observation is interesting. Then we pointed out the main interesting thing is that the Rambam, throughout his life, seemed to be grappling how to look at Milah. For example, in Mishnah Torah, he looks at it in a very different way. He puts it in Sefer Ahava. Okay? So we pointed out that the Rambam in Sefer Ahava there says that he quotes the Gemara Menachos about David HaMelech, that he saw the Milah Om in HaMitzvos. So it seems that to be with mitzvahs is ki'ilu lisko HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tamid. The way you remember God is to be constantly surrounded by mitzvahs. And he didn't have the mitzvahs of tefillin and mezuzah, whatever. So in the Beis HaMerchatz, he realized that he had Milah. Okay. But the question only is that in the Sefer Ahava, the Rambam talks not only about Zichrei Tamid, but as the Sefer seems to say, Sefer Ahava, he says, Echel boy kol mitzvahs shehem tediroitz, shenitztavu behem kidei lahav amokim. The purpose is to bring to Avos Hashem. Now, he doesn't say at the end, he says, Milah b'chlau lefishu hu ois b'vseinu lahaski tamid b'shah she'ein shom lo tefillin v'lo tzitzis u'kiyotze b'hen v'kosi shem sefer zeh sefer avo. So the question is the Rambam say that everything is avo, and he was just trying to search that Milah is also maski HaKadosh Baruch Hu tamid, or that there's no ahava involved in Milah? It's not clear at all, and it's not that the mitzvah has an element of Avos Hashem, but the mitzvah brings to Avos Hashem kidei la'av amokim u'lezichrei tamid. Now, I just want to point out one thing which is really off topic, okay? This idea of kidei la'av amokim, a priori, one would say it's to help one be mekayim the mitzvah of Avos Hashem, but that's very difficult because Avos Hashem, the Rambam is very clear in Hilchos Yisrael Torah Perek Beis that it comes through studying the universe. The Rambam has another discussion about Avos Hashem in Perek Yud of Hilchos Tshuva, where it's an approach to Kiyum HaMitzvos, that without any schar, matan schor b'sidai. This is also not what we're talking about over here. So we never knew in the Rambam that the Pashta understanding of Avas Hashem, the way the Pashta Yid understands it, I always thought it's meaningless. But l'cheira, something's happening over here in the Avas Hashem. It augments the mitzvah, and you have it already. I just don't know what it means. Avas Hashem. What does mitzvahs have to do with Avas Hashem in the way he defines it in Perek Beis L'Chisei? It's an aside, and instead I don't want to talk about this anymore. What I wanted to finish off with is the Rambam in Nevuchim has another approach to Milah. And he says, like this. In Chelik Gimel Perek Memtes, HaMitzvah asher kol oisam haklal aboso, asher heim asher sifalnum b'sefer noshim. He's talking about Sefer Noshim. V'hilchos isui bia, ukloi behema, u'mitzvahs Milah mizeh haklal. So what does it do with Noshim? So the Ram says, V'chein ha-Milah etzli, I'm skipping a little bit, echod meitaimim l'mayit ha-mishko, u'l'hachlish zeh ha'eva k'fi ha'yicholis, ad she'yimayit mais hazeh. The Rambam was of the opinion that you should be mayit in Tashris HaMita, and Milah brings to mayit in Tashris HaMita. Okay, how does that happen? I'm skipping a little bit, so I want to get to the point. He has a different approach, which is doicha, and he says, "V'loy nitna mitzvah zu lahashlim chson abriya." It's not the chson abriya which he discussed before, which I skipped. Rak lahashlim sol and amidus. And this is very peculiar. So, l'cheira, when you talk about midas, l'cheira, what he's talking about is the same way the Rambam in Perek Aleph, because midas halacha Aleph, v'yeshu hu bal taiva, v'leisis ba nafshay me'aloch b'taiva, v'yeshu bal lev toho moed, v'leisave ashil dvorim ma'atim shaguf tzochlem. So taiva is for is some physical things. So one of them is the Rambam Perek Zayin of Hilchos Tshuva Halacha Gimel. Al Toima she'ein tshuva ela me'averis she'esh ben ma'aser gon znus v'gezel geneva el kishem shetzorach odom loshu me'elu kachu tzorach lechapes b'deis rois deis rois she'esh loi v'loshu min hakas u'min ha'eva u'min ha'kina u'min ha'hitul u'min v'difas ha'momoin v'akover u'v'difas ha'macholos u'kiyetze behen. So I can imagine v'difa of Mishkav will be under this also. Okay. So if it's Midas and it's something to do with Derech Hashem or the Midabeniness, the person should have inherently with him, he should try to develop with him this not to want to run after it and not to completely abstain from it, and somehow in the middle. That's what I assume what it would mean. But that's not what he seems to say after. I don't get what it has to do with Midas. Okay, then he says like this. Avo techsa, through the Milah, it won't be Mavatal Hoyloda. Avo techsa boy hatavo hayisera al hatzerich. Okay. So it's an amazing thing. We bring him, that's what it's saying at this point, you're bringing him to the baininess of of the midah of Taivas Mishka. I assume that's what's happening. V'yois ha-milah machleshes koyach ha-keishi u'pomish etechsa hano hu dova she'ei boi sofek ki o'eva she'yishofech domoi v'yusa michseu mitchilas b'yosoi yechlesh b'li sofek. So that's, I'm not sure exactly, since he'll have less hano, he'll have less taiva for it. I'm not sure exactly how this plays itself out. Machlesh koyach koy, it's more difficult. Then he says something which I have no idea how it fits here. Ubebei omu chachomim zal hanivelis laoriel kosher lifresh mimeno. So it's talking about the woman. V'zehu hechozok b'taimei amila etzli. What? He won't be, because the woman won't be so much be teveihim, or won't be. I don't, the last thing I know, me, but what does that have to do with midas? Is he interested in Tumamayit Mishkav, or he's interested in the midas? Umi hoya maschil bezeh ha'maise rak avom avinu olav shalom asher noide miyiras chetoi ma shezochroi achachomim omu imu bi'omroi hinenu yadati ki isha yafas mareot. So the normal way we learn is that, he didn't see her, he didn't look at it till then. But what does that have to do with Mishkav? I'm not sure what the Rambam wants over here. This line is very strange. But that's not really the point, He's either saying, and even if you're telling me that it's midos, l'chayra, it should have been in Sefer Amada. It's something to do with Nosha. I'm not sure how he plays all this out, what the kofak, how this plays itself out, but it's not a Shiur or Nevuchim. I just wanted to point out the problems. Now, here's just a last point or two in Milah. Then the Ram has another line. Kfayis boy mishpatei mitzvazu betisha osa b'Shabbos, Babylon's the Milah. Okay. The ein ho'isha mitzuva lomel es bano, k'moi sha'av mitzuva bazeh. Okay. So a woman is not mitzuva like an av. Okay, so I assume it's a mother, whatever it is. So the two issues we're going to look into. Issue number one, is a woman like the rest of Klal Yisrael, that if the father doesn't do the Milah, the woman is obligated to do the Klal Yisrael mechuyev to do it, and is she also in that chiyuv? And then we have to ask, if a woman has servants, is she mechuyev to be mal mikdas kaspa yilid beisa? Those are the two issues I like to look into. So, the Ram says in Perek Aleph, Luchas Milah Halacha Aleph, Milah mitzvah v'chulei u'mitzvah al ha'av lomeles benoi v'al ha'rav lomeles avodav. The father and the Rav, whoever that is. Avodav yilid beisai bayis mikdas kesef. Ubezdin, I'm skipping a little bit, Ubezdin mitzuvim, lomul oisei habein, oi ha'eved, bizmanoi, v'yanicho o b'Yisrael, v'lo b'avdein. So we shouldn't wait. If we see the ordering, or the father is not Mali or Mashmini, or when he buys the Mikdas Kasboi, then Bezdin comes in. In Hilchos Milah Perek Gimel Locha Aleph, v'avi abein mevorich broch acheres, asher kidsham mitzvosov v'tzivonu lachnisa b'visa shel Avraham Avinu. Mitzvah la'av lomeles benoi yeser al mitzvah shemitzuvim Yisrael sheyomolu. Kol or shebenayim lefikach im ein shom aviv ein mevochim Acherim brochazo. Okay, so he holds. Oh, v'yesh mishahira shivochu oisai bezdin o echum min ha'om ve'ein roy lasas kain. Okay, great. There's separate chiyuv on av, but you get the impression that it's lav dafka bezdin. It's even kol echum Yisrael might be mechuyev milah. Before he started bezdin here in Perek Gimel, it's masha everyone. Then let's now read the following. Pirush Mishnah in Perek Yutes of Shabbos, Mishnah Vov. The Ram says like this: V'chein kol mi sheroye es hayeled hazeh he'orel v'loy molu harizeh oivel hamitzvaseh ad shiyimu lo yisay. Okay, and it seems there's an obligation of everyone to mal, and then he adds 3 extra words, which are amazing. Ad sheyimul oisai ki ilu hu benoi. Okay? Ki ilu hu benoi. So all I said is one thing. If the chiyuv milah is to see on Klal Yisrael that there's no oil, I can imagine the woman also comes in for this. However, if the mitzvah is kilu benoi, if the mother is put on a benoi, she doesn't gain anything over here anyway. So that's what I wanted to say, that l'cheira, first of all, as far as benoi is concerned, there's no chiyuv for women, or as far as any other in Yisrael, b'teres zocha of Yisrael, l'cheira, there's no chiyuv milah. Tzipora, Zifor Matan Torah, and whatever it is, and they get involved in more with the Zohar. I'm not questioning whether the woman is kosher for Milah. The question is, she mechuyev in the Mitzvah Milah. Now, the second question. Maybe a woman is mechuyev to be mal avdeha, even though she's not mechuyev. Okay? Because the Rambam only says, Ve'eno Isha. The mitzvah is Himo Yimo, right? And Himo Yimo L'cheira, we're talking about Avodim also, which were in that pasuk, and the Ram clearly says it's true in Mishnah Torah. So the question is a woman mechuyev to be mal ha'avodim? There's no issue of benoi over there. The issue of benoi is only kechem Yisrael. I would have said that the Rambam, it's only in Benoi the problem, it's Beno. However, in the Siu Mitzvas, in the Mitzvah Chrachios, Shenosim Peturis, it's Mashal Peturis Mitzvah Legamre, that Noshim are not Chayiv in this Mitzvah. Because if you look at the end of the Siu Mitzvah, he knocks out, he says, Noshim are Messiahim, V'chomesh Esrei, this mitzvah, V'hi gam kein miuchedes b'zchorim. So the l'cheire is, they're potter legamre. The Minchas Chinuch in mitzvah beis, or Yisvav, Diva Masklam B'supik, is done in this issue, if Noshim Mechayev's Lomo Avodeh Oloi. So a priori I've said I could imagine yes. If the Rambam knocks women out in Gansen from the mitzvah, then it's a little more serious, I could imagine that. Okay, next mitzvah. Mitzvah ashesh esrei umosoim. He shetzivonu. The translation over here is Liyois Hayovam Noise Es Eshes Ochiv Kishemes V'loiniach Zera. His brother died without a child, and he's mechuyev to miyabim, his brother's wife. Now, let's start slow. Here, the Arabic word over here is bikon. Kapach, I don't know how kapach translate exactly. The Ibn Tibbet says lihiyos hayovam. My impression from the mumchim is that the translation of bikon, if you remember, we had this by Mishmoros, we had this by Neterovoy. I think it might have been also. Just 1 second. Yeah, by Tmura in Pezayin, okay, and it's also by Achilles Poalim, and the translation of it is there's no verb. It's in the state of. The state of Mishmoros is a mitzvah. The state of Kedushas Neter Avoy. The state of Kedushas Tmura. Okay? The state of Achilles Poalim, whatever that means. So, until the point, most of them I could explain, and I think I did, okay? When you come to a mitzvah of Yibum, and you say the mitzvah is the state of, that is certainly of interest, to say the least. What's he trying to convey? What's what I'm trying to convey over here? So, what I could have imagined, if I can accept this, is the Maisa mitzvah of Yibum is Bia. But the kiyum is that he should be married to her. And then the mitzvah is the matzav of Ishus. If that's true. So it's interesting. When it comes to Aseh de Chalois Aseh, it depends upon the Maisa mitzvah. And the Maisa mitzvah is a Chayv Elavim, is only Bia Rishayna, not Bia Shniya. If you have a Maisa mitzvah, there's no Kiyum, is certainly nothing, okay? And so the Maisa mitzvah is a Maisa Bia, and maybe the Kiyum mitzvah, the Etzem mitzvah is that if she married, the Bikon, that the Yovon should be Nosui to Eishes Ochiv. Then it's an amazing thing if that's true. Then, I'm not getting involved to the issue of whether by the mitzvah, the Kedushin, or the Mazel Tov, and, afterwards, after they're married, then the mitzvah is this. But l'chayre is, the mitzvah is to be married, then, if the Bikon, to be the state of Yibum, if that's true. Also, very clearly, even if you accept this, the Rambam makes no reference to this idea in Milah Mitzvah Kotzer, in the Protei Mitzvahs, and in Mishnah Torah. The mitzvah is liyabim. For example, in Perek Aleph of the Chalitza, Loch Aleph, mitzvah semen Torah, sheyabim odam eshes ochiv, me oviv, beimin asu and beimin aersin, in meis b'lei zera, shneim ubein ein loy, yivom yovo elel. So, let me just, I'm just a simpleton. Let me ask a simple question. We understand that Chayve Lavim is one beer, and then you have to divorce her, and then they say you shouldn't even do it because Gozel beer Rishon not to be a Shneer. Okay? And let's say that a person is miyabim, his Eishes Achiv, okay? And then he says, right after the beer, he says, that's it. I want to megarish you. Okay? In other words, what did the Torah mean? See, I assume maybe there's something in this. Did the Torah mean that the whole mitzvah, the way we normally learn, the whole mitzvah is the beer Rishona? That's difficult for me to imagine. But, you know, if you can assume that the mitzvah to be married and they're constantly trying to have a zera, so then it's a little more understandable. But I can't comment to this because I have no proof one way or the other. But it's difficult to imagine that he's Lamavovnik, Luitzul B'Shas Bia, he didn't have any mind to divorce her. And right, he says, no, that's it. I don't believe that's he's still Lamavovniks. Okay, next. Clearly, you see, in Yibum, there's no Kiddushin. It's only Maima, which is the Rabbonim. The whole Ishus of Yibum is Nesuin. So that's the Ram said in Mitzvas, the one I read to before, in Yibum Chalitza, Mitzvas Shiabim, Odom Eshes Achiv, Me Oviv, Beimin and Nesuin, Beimin and Erisin, in Meis B'lei Zera, Ubein ein shnem ubein ein loy yivom yovo leo min atera eino tzorch lekadish yivim toy shezu ish toy he shehiknu lo min hashamayim el yovo oleo, and that's the suin. Now there's a very interesting question. There's a Yibum. In Yibum there's a kinyan. It's his ish, it's his wife. What is the relationship between the kinyan ishus, and the mitzvah? And you see what we talked about before become a very interesting. The Minchas Chinuch in Seif Mitzvah Tov Kuf Tzadiches is postulates and assumes like that even though Bia Shoigig is Kaina, as it says in the Mishnah in Yevomis Nun Gimel Beis, but it's still possible that he's not Mekayim the mitzvah. He says in Mitzvah's Kavono or in Mechavin Shlolotzes, so maybe he's not Yoitza. See, he has a question then. The Mamish is this, this is typical Minchas Chinuch. He says, let's say he in Chayvel Havim, he was Mechavin Shlolotzes in Bia Rishona, so maybe he has a het in Bia Shnia because of you would say Aseh because he wasn't a kind of mitzvah until now. Okay? I want to do something over here and flip the whole thing upside down. Okay, and maybe I'm nuts. My suggestion is that if the mitzvah is the bikon, the state of ishus, so then you might not be able to differentiate between the kinyan and the mitzvah. And even though in general you can imagine mitzvah's kavana, but in Yibum, that's the mitzvah, the kinyan. That's what I was wondering. And then I thought, in other words, that it comes out that mitzvahs Yibum is different than other mitzvahs, either mitzvahs kavana. But here's the state of ishus. And then I said that maybe Har Gufa, this is an issue which the Rabban and Abba Shol are disagreeing about. The Gemara in Yevomis on Lametesam Beis, the Sanya Abba Shol Omer, Hakinis is Yevimta l'shem Noi, u'l'shem Ishus, u'l'shem Dova Acher, Kila Pogea Be'elva. So I assume that the mitzvah has to do with the heter, and he doesn't have the mitzvah. Or the mitzvah is pogum because not the Shem Ishus. It's not the shit, the Shem Noi, or the Shem Ishus. V'kov ani beinai liyos avlad mamze. V'chachamim oimrim yevomo yovo leo mikomokim. So maybe the chamim yovo mikomokim that the mitzvah is the kinyan, and the kinyan is chal memela. So there's nothing to talk about, and there's no issue. This is what I was wondering about. But I thought it's an interesting question, and the question only came to my mind because of the lashon of bikon over here in Rambam, that the mitzvah is the state of ishus. I'm going to read to you this Minchas Chinuch because it is of certain interest. It's at the end of mitzvah Tovkuf Sariches. Lo emna lichtoiv, I won't restrain myself from writing Masha'ol al Daiti. It's a thought which is going through my mind, but I haven't rigorously investigated. Okay, Yodua, the Yibum Mitzvas Lo Kmo Gerishin V'toyim V'nitan U'kedoyma. The Dini HaMitzvah Heim HaMitzvah Lisnai Kach. The mitzvah is just to act in a certain way. Aval Eno Mekayim Mitzvah Klal. Rak, okay. Rakan Mekayim HaMitzvah. So he says an amazing thing that Shurana, there's no Kiyum HaMitzvah. And Yibum is an Amar, not a Shurana. But the amazing thing is, he puts Gerushin also in the category of Shurana, that there's no Kiyum. I can imagine that if a person he wants to depart, they want to, depart to end the marriage, there's a kiyum to do it with a get. Okay. And I can imagine a person wants toyin, but toyin v'nitan, which is a shurana, there's no kiyum. So he says Umi Shaboki b'Sefer Mitzvas. The Rabbeinu from the Rabbeinu, he means the Chinuch of Mufurashim Yoidim Dovazeh V'hu Poshet V'yadua Das. Okay, V'hu Poshet. So he says this idea that the mitzvah shrine is no kiyum, and that the mitzvah amar there's a kiyum. This, anyone who understands things knows this. Okay, Peseder. We do what das way we shoin him. The mitzvah tzrichas kavana. Lot says, "V'lo yotzi leichovas hamitzvah." V'yafti yeshuv the mitzvah ein tzrichas kavana. Bekom mischavish shel Lot says, "Eino yotzi." Af ba'noas haguf. He says even though by matzah ain't tzrichas kavana, but kagon achilas matzah, but dvom elu, but mechavish shel Lot says you're not yotzi. Ain't so charach b'zeh. He called Talmud Yodei is it. Anyone knows this. Any student knows this. Vine abo al Yibum toy. Bein bezodin. Hainu l'shem znus. Bein b'shoigeg. Bein b'oinis. Kono. Ayin b'gemora. B'perek abo Yibum toy. Ma'birim mikro. Im kein efshe nehei de kono isa. V'av yishtoi mikol mokoim. Mitzvas. Hashem bizborach lokiyim. Ki tzorch kavona lotzes. V'nafkamina the chayvus hamitzvah mutal olav. V'lo yigash etekef. So it means he can't magash etekef. He has to have bia shnia because he didn't have bia rishona. Ad shiyov oleho l'shem mitzvah. V'yikayim mitzvah. It's a shame. So this he goes on. And he says, and if he's Mechavet Shalotz to be a Rishona, what's be a Shnia? He goes on and on about this. But I'm not sure this is correct. Similarly, I'm not also I'm just gonna say it. I'm not gonna say anything more about it. What happens if you Mekadesh in Isha and you give a tabas in front of Eidim, you say Hayat Mekudesh Li, but Mechavin not to be Eitz to the mitzvah? So there I can imagine that there's a kinyan. Unless say the kinyan is totally with the mitzvah, I don't know that. But I don't think there's anything more to do. So you won't yace to the mitzvah. But she's your wife. He said, "I'm Mekadeshesli." There's nothing more to do. Here, the beer, there's something to do. Because the beer is supposed to be a beer in order to have children. That's his suffix, I assume. Because the Kedushin, you can't talk about this, I don't think. Now, see, then he says the end. Bez Shem Yisboch od chazon lemoyed, avar ezeh bez zagoyim olai, Yisale, Vizboach, Doveze, Doveze, Yisboach Vizale, Doveze Tzoch Iyun, Besugi Daba Shol. So that's what I was talking about, a little bit of what we're referring to. Okay, now. So, L'cheira, there's a new din over here. If what I'm saying is correct, that Aseh de Chalitza said depends on the Ma'aseh Mitzvah. If you say that the Mitzvah is the state of Ishus and the Ma'aseh Mitzvah is the Biyah. The Rambam here does not in any way bring a proof that there's a Mitzvah of Yibum in a Minyan. And l'chayr it's a double portion. In the Gemara Yevomis, Sari Nundalam and Aleph, Tono Abono Yevomi Yovoleo Mitzvah, Yevomi Yovoleo Mitzvah. That's the statement for the Gemara. And also the fact that we say, I say the Chalitza, say Chayve Lavim. And the Ram proves that I say the Chalitza is a Rai that it's a Mitzvah. Now, that's Yibum. HaMitzvah should Zayin, HaMitzvah Hasheva Shva Esrei Mosayim. He shetzivonu lihiyois hayevomo chaletzes liyavmo to hayovom. Okay. Now here, there are a lot of very interesting things going on. I'm not sure that I'm going to finish this now, but let's get started. First point. Here also, if you have kapach or whatever it is, the mitzvah of chalitza is also a bikon. Okay? So as much as you raise your eyebrows about Yibum, it's 10 times more than you think about chalitza. You say, okay, he had an idea about Yibum. What are you going to do with chalitza? So to be frank with you, I was banging my head against the wall and tried hard, and I'll tell you what I came up with. I'm not sure it's correct or not, or just maybe just mental gymnastics. So I'll say like this. I was wondering, and maybe this is crazy, but this is the best I could do. Okay. The Torah has a discussion, and we'll go back and we'll see more about the Seder of Yibum, of Chalitza, and whatever it is. But V'yikol Shmo b'Yisrael Beis Chalutz Anoal, and we find that it's supposed to be said three times. Beis Chalutz Anoal, Beis Chalutz Anoal. What is this? So l'chera, it's a Shem Gnai that he wasn't boina Beis Achiv. The Rambam in the Nevuchim, Chelek Gimel, Perek Memtes, V'tziv Solasos HaChalitza, Mipnei Sha'amaisim Oheim Hoyu Megunim B'minhogei Hazmanim Oheim. So it's not only the base Chalitza now, but the pullus of taking off the shoe is a mice of Gnai. V'ula yivoch min ha'gnusahu v'yibem. And then he says, Mavuhu zeh b'Torah. Kocho yes eliish v'nikru shmo b'Yisrael. So the Ram seems to say, because of this Gnai, the question is, v'nikru, this I couldn't find rayis one way or the other about this. V'nikru shmo b'Yisrael, and that we say it again and again and again. Does it mean, that's what he is and remains with that? And then it's a bikon. Or it's just a ploy and said with at that occasion, it's a meaningless thing afterwards. Nikru shmo, that's his name. There's a change in persona. The Ramban also does something like this in Bereshis Lamed Ches Ches, V'nei nechshov lachzorius gedola bi'ach kasher lo yachpoitz li'aben v'koyin oisei beis chalutz hana'al ki ato cholatz mehem. So that's what I was wondering about. Better than that I can't do in terms of that it's a bikon, but I'm just clear to me, both Nuram and Moira, even if I didn't say anything, and the Ramban and Chumash that there's something more to the base Chalitza now than just a jargon of saying over part of the parsha. Okay, now, next. It says like this. Hish zivonu liyos hayavomo choletzes liyabmo. Okay. Im lo yiseno. If he doesn't marry her, because the Yibum is doch nisuin. Vu amo yisale v'chol na aloi me'al ragloi. The me'al ragloi is in all the Kisviyad, both in Kapach and in Ksaver Oxford. In even Tibet it's not there, but I assume it's in the Ksavi Kisviyad. It's there. Ukfa hisbaru mishpedei mitzvah zo, v'mesechta b'chuberes v'meseches Yevomis. Now, the Rambam here only talks about the Ma'aseh Chalitza, but there's a lot more to a Yibum than a Ma'aseh Chalitza. If you recall, the Ram Shiur Yud Beis compares Menoches to the Mitzvah Chalitza. And he says like this, Ukmo shemitz chalitza achas v'lei nimna chalitza urikika ukriya acha shamakubatz mehem he meleches hachalitza. That's the conglomerate. The Seder Chalitza, Meleches Chalitza. Vihi mitzvah achas. Kmo chen lo yimne v'yitzakto le'Hashemen v'samto le'Levoino b'melech timloch v'heinif v'hegish v'komatz v'hiktir. So there's a whole Seder Mincha and the Seder Chalitza. And the mitzvah is the Seder Chalitza. And the mitzvah is the Seder. And here, the Ram is not interested in minyan mitzvah, he's interested in counting the mitzvah. But the mitzvah is, he explained it already, in Shiur Yud Beis, the Seder Chalitza. And l'chor it's the psukim. V'im lo yachpa itzo ish l'kaches es yivimtoi. If he doesn't want, we also Yevimtoi Ashira. She comes to the Bezin as the Kedim of that city where her brother-in-law lives. V'omo me'ein yavmi yavomi lo'akin lo'achiv shem b'Yisrael lo yova yavmi v'kol lo ziknei yiroi v'dibrei lov. The Chor is part of the mitzvah. V'omad lo chofatzi lekachta. V'niksha yevimto elov, and she comes to him. Le'ene azkenim, v'chol tzonaloi me'araglov, v'yoka b'fonov, v'onsa v'yomo kocha yeos elo ish, asher lo yivno es beis ochiv. V'nikla shmo b'Yisrael beis Chalitza noah. So this is the combination of all these various things. That's the mitzvah. It's the Ram Mishnah Torah also like that. In Perek Daled of Hilchos Yibum Chalitza, from the beginning of the Perek until Halacha Lamed Aleph, describes the Seder of Yibum. Keitzad mitzvahs of Chalitza. Keitzad mitzvahs Chalitza. Hayavomo leches acha yavomo. Yavomo. L'mokoim shehu shom ubo l'dayonim v'hein korin loy v'noisen loy eitza hagenes, whether they should marry or not, it goes on and on. Shah mitzvah hi Seder Chalitza. The mitzvah is Seder Chalitza. It's just that only the Ma'aseh Chalitza is likuva. In Perek Daled, Halacha Yud Beis, Cholza Bulvad, V'leikol, V'leilochko, Chalitza Sekshera. ואין צורך לומר שחולצה וקורא ולרוקקה, או שחולצה ורוקקה ולקורא וחולצה, שחליצה זה כשרה. I'm going to tell you something, and I guess you'll smile after I say it. We know that the Chalitza is kshera. Does it mean that the Mekayim, the mitzvah of Chalitza? Or maybe the Chalitza's now is ma'akev in the Hafkos Kinyan. But maybe the mitzvah has other things. The mitzvah is the Hafkos Kinyan, the Hafkos Zika, or the mitzvah is the whole Seder. And maybe everything's ma'akev. We don't know anything. But it's irrelevant. Now, it's basically the same question Minchas Chinuch asked, but, he asked the question about Mitzvah Yibum. Okay, but you can ask the question Mitzvah Chalitza. Is the mitzvah dafkor of the Ishus, or is the mitzvah the Seder? Now, here, I want to start something. I'm thinking to end it. But there's a question which a priori seems nonsensical. Okay? I would ask you a question. If I ask you, is a woman chayiv mitzvahs yibum? The answer is absolutely not. Because the mitzvahs yibum is on the man. Okay? However, when it comes to chalitza, who's the mitzvah on? So I would have said, this is the Torah and the Ikuv and the whole thing. If a cholta nara, maybe the mitzvah is on the woman. And look Lashon Ram over here. He should see vonu liyos hayevomo chaletzes liyabmo. So the verb is in the feminine, and it seems to be on the yavomo, on the yavomo. That's what I would have said. And then I would have said something else. Since the mitzvah is the tzivur in the Torah, the Ram quotes the mitzvah v'chol tzana loy me'al ragloi. The woman's doing that. This also, derech agav, that since he quotes this pasuk, maybe he's of the opinion that the chalitza itself is also the mitzvah. We don't know the bikuva, we don't know what the relationship is. But whatever it is, looking at the Rambam, you would have said that the mitzvah is the woman. It's very strange. Is mitzvah's yibum kaidemis the mitzvah chalitza? But on one hand, the yibum, the mitzvah's yibum is on the man, the mitzvah's chalitza is on the woman. Or maybe it's combined effort because they both say different things together. He says, they say different things. The interesting thing over here is the Sefer Chinuch in Mitzvah Tov Kuf Tzadiches and Tov Kuf Tzadites is of the opinion that both the mitzvah of Yibum and Chalitza, mitzvahs Yibum and Chalitza, mutalos are obligatory only on the woman. Only on the man, excuse me. Only on the man. The woman's not mechuyev. So comes the Minchas Chinuch, and with his mitzvahs kavon or not, he says, only the woman needs to have kavanah. Only the man needs to have kavanah because he's doing the mitzvah. It's an amazing thing. The man's standing there, and he has kavanah for the mitzvah, and the woman is coming, taking his shoe off, and she is not doing anything in terms of the mitzvah. Okay. L'cheira. Minchas chinuch is like this. Uba kavanah zo lotzes idei ha-mitzvah ain't tzorach lak ha-cholitz the mekayim ha-mitzvah avol lo hi the mitzvah al hazchorim kmo shekos. So it's an amazing thing. The tzivui in the Torah is on ploinis, and the mitzvah is on ploni. The tzivui in the Torah, v'cholza na'aloi me'al ragloi, is on the woman, and I thought the mitzvah is the tzivui in my Torah, as the Ram says in Shorish Ches. Right? So it's an amazing thing. The mitzvah is on the man, and the woman is doing the tzivui in the Torah. And that's not the mitzvah. And the chinuch also quotes the pasuk as v'chol tonal as the makol mitzvah. She's tavinu liyois hayavomo chaletzezi liyovom na'aloi kishlo yirtze lisa oisa loy liisha v'al zeh nema v'chol tonaloi me'al ragloi. And he say she's tavinu liyois hayavomo chaletzes. And he says at the end that the mitzvah is only the zcharim. It's an amazing thing. On the other hand, you find this similar lush in the Rambam in Perek Aleph Halacha Beis in Hilchos Yibum Chalitza. Lo yirotza liyabim, sheloi rotzes he, hare zeh chalitz lo. What do you mean hare zeh chalitz lo? What is he doing? V'achar kach tiyeh muteres lihinose leacher. U'mitzvah semer ha-Torah lachloitz im lo yirotza liyabim. Shenema v'chol tzonaloi. So it's also something in the Rambam. So the whole idea of the Seder Chalitza, according to the Rambam, according to the Chinuch, she just is involved in order he should be the mitzvah. She comes to the Bezdin, she does this, and she says before, Beis Chalitza now, and all this, and the mitzvah's on him. It's an amazing thing. The question which we have to ask, and I'm going to leave this, and maybe we'll just say it over a little bit more next week, Blineda. So, l'cheira, if a man doesn't want to do Yibum, we can force it to be involved in the Chalitza. But l'cheira, the woman could say, I don't care, I'm 80 years old, I don't want the Yibum, I don't want the Chalitza, and I just want to go. She's not involved in the mitzvah. Can we force kafir on mitzvahs to mekayim the mitzvah? Is the kafir on mitzvah kafir one person to help another person mekayim a mitzvah? What does all this mean? Okay, this just all food for thought. And Mitzvah Hashem will pick this up again. Maybe just go over a little bit next week. And that's Locha Rabbah.